Hello, and welcome to a very special St. Patrick's Day themed edition of My ArundelBiz Podcast. I'm Grayson Orfe.
And I'm Allison Akers. We are your hosts from Anne Arundel Economic Development. Today we are here with Anthony Clarke, who is co-owner of the Irish Restaurant Company, which has opened some Irish favorites around the county: Boru, Killarney House, Galway Bay, Pirates Cove. Anthony, give us some history and your background.
Hi, my name is Anthony Clarke. I'm born in Ireland, moved here in 92. Worked with my business partner, who is also from Ireland, County Kilkenny, since way back in 96, and started here in Anne Arundel County in 98 with the opening of Galway Bay.
Cool. So can you talk about a little bit about like the timeline of all of your openings?
Sure. I originally came to the States in 92, had worked previously in London with hotels for about 6-7 years. Starting my restaurant career back in Ireland. My business partner, Michael Galway, found our location in Annapolis. And Annapolis was the attraction because it was a similar kind of town to waterfront towns in Ireland with the sailing and everything else. And really the way the streets were designed in the local community.
Sailing is big in Ireland? I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, well, it's an island.
Well, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
A lot of boating, a lot of rough sailing too. The waters are a little bit rougher than down here. So that was the main attraction. Also the location at which used to be the little campus inn, which we turned into Galway Bay in 98 and opened in December.
Okay. And then what was the next restaurant after that?
We started that one off, built a really good community, worked very hard at that particular restaurant, and then had another opportunity that came up close to where Michael actually moved house, out in Davidsonville. So Davidsonville was Killarney House, and that opened in 2001 in August. We continued developing that in Anne Arundel County, took a small SBA loan for that one, and built our reputation. We then went outside the county, actually, to Massachusetts, and opened a restaurant up there in 2004.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was an interesting experiment. So we got rid of that in 7 years and came back and just say close to home. We opened Boru here in 2008. And now it's coming into its 12th year. Pirates Cove we came across not as an Irish restaurant, but as a different path for us. Running restaurants is similar in some regards when you get above 3 units, and Pirates Cove was a different offering. And the person that owned it, Bob Platt, also we had worked with because he owned the building that Killarney House is in. So that opportunity came up in 2015, and we took it and bought the business. And actually we used the Vote Fund to fund some of the renovations at that one. So that was in 2015. And although not Irish, we have some little Irish influences that come up in the menu. But it allows us to experiment in our menu development. Our chef, Steve Hardison, who we started to collaborate and work with in 2015, Pirates Cove, is now running a lot of our menu changes for all the restaurants.
That's great.
Now, Anthony, I have an ear for detail, and something tells me that you're not from Severna Park.
No.
Okay, so I wanted to know, what's your background?
I was born in Dublin, grew up there, left when I was about 21 after college. Most people I went to school with back there in the late 80s, mid 80s, work wasn't really plentiful in Ireland at that time.
Yeah.
So nearly everybody I went to college with either went to Europe or London. So I went to London for 6 years, worked there in the hotel industry. Had been to the States numerous times, worked in Boston, worked in California on summer trips, and then ended up coming to DC with the people that I knew from some of those trips, and started my career there. And that's where I started working with Michael Galway. We had worked at 2 different Irish pubs in the DC area that were well known, and then worked together at one in Falls Church. And when he found Galway Bay, that brought us to Annapolis and the start of our business partnership together, which is over 22, 23 years now.
That's a strong partnership.
Yeah, that is great.
To withstand all of these restaurant openings.
Yeah, we've been through some stuff.
22 years.
Yeah.
So that brings me to the States, and hopefully I still have the Irish accent.
I would say so. And we've got a Guinness in front of us, a beautiful Guinness, beautiful pour.
Beautiful. Yeah.
All right, so why Anne Arundel County? I mean, you have opened all throughout the county. You've mentioned about what attracted you to certain areas, and going to Massachusetts, you came right back here.
Yeah.
So, like, what is it about Anne Arundel County?
Well, first of all, it was Annapolis. Annapolis was the big attraction. Great city, great town, great streets, great local people. And we, even when they didn't know who we were, when we presented and had a community meeting with them after we opened, we became the locals local. And that was really important to us because that's really what Irish pubs are all about. We don't have TVs there. Everybody comes in and just talks. Bartenders look after people. They know their name. They know what they're drinking. And we've kept that. And even the staff that we've had there at Galway Bay are very loyal. We've had some for 19 years. And one lady who has worked there, even at Little Campus, 22 years before we opened, still works with us.
Really?
Yeah, that's Susan. So we started developing that kind of culture, and that's really what we focused on. Moving from restaurant to restaurant as we opened, it becomes a little bit more difficult, but it takes time to develop that kind of camaraderie and that kind of culture in each one. And that comes from the people that work within us, like Heather here that works in this restaurant, builds a team. And they've been with us for 6-7 years, and this one's only 12 years old.
So you feel like the people of this county really make you a step above for each restaurant?
It's a great county to be in. It's diverse, like Killarney House is in a suburban, Davidsonville, or more rural area of Anne Arundel County that's really only 15 minutes from Annapolis. But you think you're in a different spot, Pirates Cove is on the water, so it shares West River and close to the Chesapeake Bay. And then Severna Park up here is totally different again. Yeah, different people, different communities, but all local, good community based. Part of our path into the community, which Heather has done a great job here at Pirates Cove, at Boru, is the community charity dinners that we do. We do the most here. It's a very big part of what we do, from the churches to the schools to charitable organizations that are built in Severna Park. And when you see this place filled with 100 people that all know each other, you can just you can feel that community spirit in it. Yeah. And I think that's the basis of how our businesses have evolved. Look after your locals first. Everything else then just comes together with it.
Cool. Yeah, and I think that you've really touched on each jewel of Anne Arundel County. I mean, you've got the water, you've got downtown, you've got countryside and suburbia.
And I held a position on the board of Visit Annapolis, so that represents the whole county. Yep. And we have different marketing tools for each sector and what it offers, both the rural, both the water side, both Annapolis, and North Anne Arundel County.
So, I mean, St. Patrick's Day, obviously we think of green and Irish. I wore my green dress, but you take it a step further, and you guys seem like you're really big on green living and sustainability. Can you talk about like some of the practices that you've put into place?
Sure, and I've been involved in a number of different committees and organizations that promote environmental abilities, particularly in the restaurant industry, because we're a big carbon footprint producer, because it's big buildings, it's a kitchen, it's lots of people. Yeah. And you need that for that. So there's many areas that we've been interested in over the years, and just being Irish, you're brought up in a different background. A lot less water usage for showers, a lot more conservancy with electricity because it's more expensive, more economical or environmental cars because gasoline's so expensive. All those different traits that you get brought up with, I think, carried through for you. We realized that early on, so I think we, as a restaurant, have been at the forefront of different things to do to combat that impact. Like Killarney House, we have solar panels on the roof, both thermal and the electrical one. So even though that doesn't eat into a huge amount for the electricity that we use, about 15%, it's still a big statement in what we put in as an investment into it. Little things like eradicating plastic was a big step for us.
I think did you use just disintegrating straws or something?
Made from corn.
Okay.
And you try to give them out with labels so people realize it. And this is one of the big questions we were asked about, the economic impact of it. And when we did it, and these labels said, they were made from corn, people stopped using them. And since then, we've advanced that program on to not even offering straws. And legislation follows a lot of this around.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys were ahead of it. Yeah,
we have a plastic bag legislation in now for the state, and also the city of Annapolis has already passed one. But we've had it changed for like 10 years already, I think we've been well ahead of a lot of those different initiatives.
So are there any easy tips for both residents and other business owners that you have that maybe they can make one small change in their business?
Yeah, I'm asked that question a lot by other restaurants and businesses. What can you do? And my advice is always start small, do one thing at a time. Plastic being the biggest one. We don't need it in Ireland, and this is part of the story for the legislation that's in now. In Ireland, they got rid of plastic bags in grocery stores about 25 years ago and charged you for a bag. Now, grocery stores are different than restaurants. Some restaurants need a certain amount of plastic for liquid foods and stuff like that. But it's an easy one to put your print on. We use, compostable containers for food, plastic or paper bags, the plastic or the corn straws. They're all small little ones that you can make big impacts on. Getting into your utilities and everything else with regard to solar is a bigger step and a bigger investment. But doing the small ones first and keeping involved. Organizations like Annapolis Green. I've been on a lot of committees with regard to the Restaurant Association and what's at the forefront of that.
You were involved with Oyster Partnership?
Yeah, Oyster Recovery Partnership.
Waterways.
Both with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation as well as the Oyster Recovery. We partner 2 restaurants with one and 2 restaurants with the other. We do a huge oyster night at all the restaurants where we'll sell over 400 orders of oysters, in a night, and that develops a lot of shells. So that's
sold.
We all go back, and we do them here at like 50 cents on a Thursday night. It's a great night.
Love oysters and Guinness. So.
Yeah, so and it goes great with a pint of Guinness.
Yeah.
So they've all been recycled back, and that's a benefit for businesses too, because you get a little tax credit at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And you get a mention, and you're helping restore the bay a bit. And it works for those organizations. They get a pickup point to base them and take them back.
I think that's probably why you're so successful in this community, that you really have strong partnerships, you're involved in giving back, and you respect the people that are around you.
Right.
You created this community.
We all help each other, whatever organizations it is, and when they're already county or community focused, then they're partnerships that help everybody.
Yeah.
Now, Anthony, let's talk trends. In the food industry now, there's a lot of farm to table restaurants, things like that. And shout out to our Anne Arundel Ag team who helps create those connections with farmers to continue to push that trend forward. I wanted to know why do you think this is becoming a larger focus of doing the farm to table? Sure.
And I've worked with Lisa Barge at the economic development for a number of years. Yep. We've been stewardships. We've won stewardship certifications for all the restaurants, both in Annapolis and the county. And a lot of the initiatives that Lisa's been involved in over the years, we've participated in, and even into doing events and attending a lot of the events that she puts on to learn and connect. And we've always been, striving to connect farmers with restaurants and that communication or how to order and how to deliver, because some of those dynamics prevent it for large users of food.
Oh, I believe it.
So we have a mainstream supplier that focuses on food from Maryland and Delaware that's kind of local based as well. Mm-hmm. And then during the year, as they come up into the season, some of the local farmers, either for meats as well as local produce. We also have a garden sort of farm at Killarney House that
you guys started.
We actually started. One of our employees wanted to do one. We have goats, chickens, hens, and they grow a lot of produce in the summer. And some of that we incorporate into specials. It's not enough to put on a mainstream menu item, but it is enough to do specials with and add to that. We also started an initiative with, and this isn't in Merrill, it's or Anne Arundel County, it's in Carroll County, but Evermore Farms, we get our Dexter beef from. Dexter is a type of cow that comes, hereditary is from Ireland and Europe. It's a smaller breed of cow.
Really?
So it's more Irish known as Dexter beef, and we use it to make our signature burgers at Galway Bay, at Killarney House.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't think I knew what.
Pirates Cove as well, and we'll be bringing it up here. So it's a really juicy burger, great marbling in the beef. And that's kind of a local but Irish.
Oh, okay, well, I'll have to try that because I love the fish and chips and your shepherd's pie and everything. I'll have to try the burger.
There are mainstays: shepherd's pie, corned beef and cabbage. All those dishes are always on all the menus, with the exception of Pirates Cove. It's not as much Irish.
Yeah.
Okay, cut. We're hungry. So with all those things being local, what's your favorite?
It depends on the day. Fish and chips is a signature item for us, so I like
so
it all the time,
incredible.
particularly now with Fridays too. We sell a lot of it.
Oh.
And our fish specials. The Dexter burgers are just a great burger.
Yeah.
But I don't eat that every day. And we also do our authentic Irish breakfast. For me, that's one of my favorite meals.
Okay.
Which we sell all the time, every day, throughout the day. But it's sausages, rashers, which is Irish bacon, black and white pudding, which is blood sausage from Ireland as well, with eggs. So it's a big meal. And in Ireland,
I think
it's
some of my friends have had it for dinner.
Yeah, and if you've been to Ireland and you've stayed at a B&B or a hotel, this is the breakfast you're going to get everywhere. And it's just a part of a tradition. So when you visit here and you want to feel back like you're back there, that's the one to order.
Awesome.
So your restaurants are a huge draw for both tourists and locals alike. And I think you've been really successful in keeping all these places running well. What business advice do you have for others that are looking to go through the business process of maybe opening a second restaurant or opening even their own business? I think you've got a lot of advice that you can give.
Well, it goes back to the core of building your team. People are the most important part of particularly restaurants, whatever business you're doing. The team that are representing you and be strong about what your identity is. From an Irish point of view, we're not a sports bar, but we have certain elements that will do that. Like Galway Bay, for example, doesn't even have a TV. We just have more TVs here than the others. But so be strong about your culture and your identity. Get involved with local organizations like AEDC, like your tourism board, Visit Annapolis. I was heavily involved with them for a number of years and still am. And then get to know your local people and what causes are important to them, like developing programs like the charity dinner that brings people together, provides a win-win. We give $10 from each of those menus selected on those evenings back to the organization. They don't really have to do any work for it because it's just making a reservation. Sure. You get people here that are just know each other and have a good time, and the atmosphere is great. And those little things first, and it takes time. You can't expect it to happen overnight. It's a good 2 to 3 years before you've developed a core staff and identity within your community, and build upon that continually and slowly.
How have you kept, so you said that your partnership has been over 20 years. How have you kept that going strong?
My business partnership
business
with my
partnership.
partner? We have different skill sets, and we complement each other, and I think that's important in a partnership, that we see and recognize that and learn over a period of time, and that's what really works. And communication, and I emphasize that with all of our managers as well, communicating back and forth. Sure. And developing. The most important things for restaurants is, you have systems in place, you develop them over years. Going from one restaurant to 5 at one point is definitely a learning experience, because you try and clone yourself and do the lot everywhere. So developing systems that work for everybody and that they understand and are able to use is number one. Looking at your financial picture and being able to be informed about that on a regular basis, and I mean like every week. We actually have it on a daily basis from some of the systems we've developed. And then your culture, which is the number one too. So those 3 elements are really, really vital to be successful over a long period of time.
Wise advice.
And also to weather recessions or, even situations like the coronavirus that's coming up on top of all businesses now and economies. You've got to be able to weather those short-term things and be able to see your way through.
That's a good point. So you talked about using our Volt Fund, which is run out of our office. We have other business loans. And then you've connected with Lisa Barge. I mean, are there any other, why have those resources been good for you guys? And are there any others that stand out in your mind people should know about?
Originally, when you start off in business and you have no credit, you're using your own credit cards or whatever money you've saved to start it up, nobody's going to give you any money. So our first, opening into SBA loan, which is expensive to do with banks, was for Killarney House. That was for $350,000. And then you pay that off over time, and that's where you build your credibility. And it's hard at the beginning. There's no way about it. And even for vote funds, you really have to have all your apples correctly stored. All your business finances and credit marks and your financial picture in a good position to be able to avail of those. The advantage with the vote fund was a little less on interest over a period of time. So once you get through that process, then you're all set. And then you just make your payments. The SBA loan documents are about this thick.
Yep.
And they tell you when you get to the closing table, you can either take the loan, sign it, or don't take the loan and don't sign it. So no point in reading this stuff because you either pay it off. The only time it comes into trouble is when you can't pay it off.
Sure.
And that goes back to your financial picture, culture, and systems.
Yep. Wow. Those are really good points. I think that's really good advice that people should take.
Yep. Now, what would any St. Paddy's Day episode be without a fun story? So, you've been through many St. Paddy's Days. What is your funnest story from a St.
Give
Paddy's
us the good
Day?
stuff.
You know, most of them, you kind of posed this question to me before I was thinking about it, you know. And I was just discussing with people yesterday. I'm into my 35th year, I think, working on a St. Patrick's Day. 23 of them or 24 of them having been here in the United States.
Wow.
So St. Patrick's Day it's a different energy here in the States as in Ireland. It wasn't really a big day for a long time.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, leave it to the Americans to blow it out of proportion.
They went along and they'd go out for the day or whatever, but they continued doing their stuff. And now it's become very much of a tourist attraction in Ireland with big celebrations in Dublin and other parts. And here it's just like, I want to get into an Irish pub and have some food and enjoy myself on the day. So it's always been a big day for us, no matter where we've been with our Irish establishments. And we draw a lot of people from the Severna Park here, from Baltimore. Annapolis is just full. And we're full here from about 10:30 in the morning. We open at 8 for breakfast, do a lot of breakfasts. And then by 10:30, it's a flow. Some people have breakfast, lunch, and dinner here.
Wow.
All good natured,
Sure.
we never really have people going beyond it, but it's conversation, and that's what the whole thing's about. It's people remembering their Irish heritage or bringing that out with themselves in conversation and just enjoying each other's company. And we have developed a system even for that day that allows us to expand. We have a big tent at the back here. We take reservations. We still do food. I used to know bars in DC that just didn't do any food at all, and they just charge people in the door, and then you couldn't even eat, because they just fill it up so much.
Yeah.
So we've kept that even from way back with Galway Bay, that we've offered a good menu. It's a reduced menu so we can do more volume.
Yeah.
I think I've been to Galway Bay on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, and Galway Bay is now
Great
our
food.
smallest building,
Yeah.
so it only holds a certain amount. But some of the stories that I come back to is one particular one up here. I started up here one morning, and I visit them all. But we were starting up here, and there was 7 inches of snow outside on the parking lot
Don't have that problem this year.
Right.
on March 17th. So I couldn't get the plows out from the management company because they weren't ready for it, because it was March 17th. They weren't expecting 6 inches of snow.
Right.
My staff couldn't get in here. I ended up cooking breakfast for the ones that walked
Oh.
to get here.
Wow.
We only had 2 bartenders on at the same time. I did about 8 or 9 breakfasts myself behind the line before somebody got in to help me in the kitchen. And then by 12 o'clock, snow was all gone and we were full. So that was a big memory for me.
Wow.
Um,
Is that Maryland weather?
Another one, Killarney House, our computer system went out for 2 hours at 12 o'clock
On St. Patrick's Day?
on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh.
And,
Just keep pouring the beers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pouring it and figuring it out
Keep
after a
everyone
while.
happy.
So as long as people stay there, we didn't have to come up with a check.
Right.
Asking people to do math in their head at that time is a lot more difficult. So
Yeah.
they're my big stories for Paddy's Day. But, over the years, it's just gotten bigger and more enjoyable. And we end up, it's not as crazy because we plan better and we know what to expect.
Are you guys have you been a part of the Annapolis St. Patrick's Day Parade at all?
Yes. We're participating. We helped John O'Leary at the beginning when he was trying to gain support and put that original parade on. We did some fundraisers for
It's a
him.
huge
at the
draw
restaurant.
now.
It's the largest parade in Annapolis, so we've been in it, and we'll participate this year representing all 3 restaurants. Yeah,
Nice.
Oh.
this Sunday, and then we have music back to Galway Bay with dancers and stuff because everybody's still downtown and enjoying the day, and it's great. It's away from Paddy's Day enough, so even the businesses in Annapolis do very well, whether they're Irish or not, all of them, because the town's so packed. So it's a great economic driver, I think, for the city of Annapolis, and a great job by John O'Leary. he runs out of spaces that he can't take everybody that want to be part of the parade.
Yeah, that's a successful parade then.
Yeah, so we'll be there strong, representing our brand.
So, have you heard of this joke?
Okay, here we go.
Come on, guys. What do you call a leprechaun that's been sent to jail?
I don't know. What do you call a leprechaun that's been sent to jail?
A leprechaun. Come on, guys. No laughs? No?
You know, in Ireland, they used to tell jokes about Kerrymen. They used to single out the Kerrymen jokes. And I'm not good. I can't remember any at the moment.
Yeah, wait. Do you have any good jokes?
I'll tell you one. So how many Irishmen does it take to screw in no. Yeah, how many Irishmen does it take to screw in a light bulb?
You got me.
Yeah, how many?
3. 1 to hold the light bulb in place, and the other 2 to drink enough so the room starts spinning.
I'll be the one drinking.
See, this is
the only one I can remember.
This sounds like too much fun going on
I'm
right
not
here.
the Irish
It's
comedian.
St. Patrick's Day.
Let me go ahead and throw my hat into the ring real quick. All right.
Let the pro take it.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Irish.
Irish who?
I wish you a happy St. Patty's Day. Anything? Nothing? All right. I'll quit. It's fine.
It's pleasant, Grayson.
It is.
Way to let me down easy.
I'm not a great comedian, but Irish jokes and stuff like that, we're well able to laugh at ourselves. That's the Kerrymen and the Irishmen and the Englishmen and all that. Mm-hmm. So it is part of our culture. So
yeah.
Well, at least you can laugh at us and laugh at yourselves.
Yeah. Good job.
All right. Well, we'll end our corny and festive jokes and say the My ArundelBiz Podcast, it comes to you monthly. You can check us out on all of our social media platforms. So that's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. We also just launched on Instagram. So check us out, My ArundelBiz Podcast on Instagram. And then arundelbiz.org. And we're featuring local business owners like Anthony Clarke here that are just really mainstays in your community and some really cool stories that come out of it. So thank you, Anthony, for talking with us today.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.